how am I supposed to believe that John Cena is Vin Diesel's brother when they don't even look alike? Hello there in internet land. This is episode 11 of the F1 Chat. I am your host, Phil Lamington. Seated to my left is probably the only person in this room who is not unwell. And that's JB. JB, how are you, my friend?
Yeah, I feel all right. Physically, I'm fine. Mentally, I'm not so fine because, once again, McLaren found a way to not get any points. So, it's been a good 3 races of no points.
And seated to my right is a man who is very unwell, but very happy as well, and that is Longhorn. How are you?
Yeah, I guess you could say I'm medically unwell, but you could say I'm mentally very, very well after watching Albon win driver of the day and put in a stonking performance. That was awesome.
Yeah, well, it was a really... It's a very fine line because, like, last episode we just sat here and said how boring the Spanish F1 was, despite the fact there was, 107 overtakes?
Correct.
Crazy number.
And yet this one didn't have as many overtakes. It had a DRS train. And yet, I thought this was a really great watch.
Yeah, it was better than
It was entertaining.
Barcelona.
It was.
definitely.
It had drama and it was enthralling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had a safety car, a VSC, George Russell crashed. You had everything. You had drivers getting their elbows out. You had drivers just licking the stamp and sending it, forgetting to put the address on it, like Nick DeVries.
Yeah. God, that was bad.
Doesn't know where he's going.
Yeah.
Well, it won't be in a Red Bull next year at this rate.
Won't be in a Red Bull ever.
Won't be in a seat at all.
Yeah. Right. So, we're going to hand it over to JB for the F1 report.
Yeah. It's rock and roll. The 2023 Pirelli Canadian Grand Prix from Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal. Lap 1, Max Verstappen starts on pole position alongside Fernando Alonso. Max holds the lead. Lewis Hamilton jumps Fernando Alonso into second. Carlos Sainz and Sergio Perez almost touch. Kevin Magnussen somehow misses them into the final chicane as he runs out of space behind them. Lap 4, Fernando Alonso wipes the wall out of turn 4 in his Aston Martin, but he avoids damage. Lap 8, Logan Sargent's Williams clogs out, triggering a virtual safety car. Lap 12, George Russell slams the wall in his Mercedes, limping back to the pit lane and triggering a full safety car and a slew of pit stops. Lap 14, Lewis Hamilton is noted for an unsafe release. As is Lando Norris, George Russell is released back into the race, but possibly has steering damage. Lap 20, Alex Albon gets past Oscar Piastri as Piastri outbrakes himself into the final chicane. Lap 21, Valtteri Bottas and Lando Norris get past Kevin Magnussen. Lap 23, Fernando Alonso passes Lewis Hamilton for second place. Lap 25, Lando Norris is noted for driving unnecessarily slowly behind the safety car. Lap 29, Alex Albon finally passes Kevin Magnussen for 11th. Lap 35, Nick DeVries and Kevin Magnussen battle and then hit each other, pushing each other off the track as DeVries locks up and leaves Magnussen with nowhere to go. Lap 39, Lando Norris is handed a 5-second time penalty for driving unnecessarily slowly behind the safety car. Lap 55, George Russell is forced to retire from the race with a brake cooling issue, leftover damage from his earlier crash. Lap 64, Lando Norris pulls off a nice move on Valtteri Bottas for 9th, but his 5-second penalty lingers. Lap 68, Lando Norris notes Esteban Ocon's rear wing seems loose, but Alpine don't seem worried about it. Lap 70, Max Verstappen wins the Canadian Grand Prix, his 41st in his career, equaling Ayrton Senna, and taking Red Bull Racing's 100th Grand Prix victory. Fernando Alonso finishes second, Lewis Hamilton finishes third, Sergio Perez gets fastest lap, and Alexander Albon gets driver of the day.
Charles Leclerc finished 4th for Ferrari. 5th was Carlos Sainz in the other Ferrari. Sergio Perez finished 6th in the Red Bull. 7th was Alexander Albon in the Williams.
Hey, get in there, Alex.
8th was Esteban Ocon in the Alpine. 9th was Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin. And 10th was Valtteri Bottas in the Alfa Romeo. That's what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different 7 different constructors in the top 10.
That's pretty cool. That's what we want to be seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't going 2 by 2 by 2 like usual,
Yeah.
except
well,
the Ferraris.
yeah, well, that was strange with the Ferraris. Like, they ran, for lack of a better term, they ran their own race.
They
They
definitely
kinda did,
ran their own tyre strategy, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And it kind of worked.
But they
out
had
for
pay.
them.
They started, what, 7th and 8th?
No, they were. Wasn't Leclerc like a 10th?
Yeah, I think it was probably even worse than that.
Yeah,
10th
10th and 11th.
11th, yeah.
Yeah.
They finished 4th and 5th, so for as much as they ran their own race, it
Worked.
got them
seemed to-
points.
It got them a lot of points, yeah.
Oh, they'll be pretty happy because, as we were just saying, they're both bunched up in the points, and so they're both ahead of an Aston Martin and a Mercedes, who's in the battle for them in the constructors. So Ferrari would come away pretty happy because both their cars finish higher on aggregate than the two teams they're
Yep.
going against. So it worked out pretty well for them.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, they got points.
Yeah.
Points,
Which is
you know.
more you can say than McLaren.
Yeah, well, I mean, Lando
Which was-
Norris was in the top 10, but
Yeah, it was a shame because Norris had a great race.
Yeah.
And I thought Piastri raced well. He made one mistake on an overtake on, was it Magnussen?
Yeah.
I think, and that made him drop 2 places in the end because then George Russell went through, and then after that he wasn't really
Yeah.
in and amongst it at all. But
Yeah, it was
other than that, I
unlucky.
thought they both raced pretty well.
I mean, they
McLarens.
started 7th and 8th, I'm pretty sure,
yeah.
from memory. And
I think the biggest loser was Hulkenberg.
Oh,
yeah, he had a...
Like, he qualified second, got a 3-place grid penalty, so he was started 5th.
And
And
he didn't even get in the points.
He pit a lap before the safety car.
he finished 15th.
Yeah. And a
that's-
lap down. That's a terrible
Yeah.
day. That's a terrible day at the office.
I think...
Considering he was in all those battles early on.
yeah.
Like, he was in every one of those fights. He was fighting with the Ferraris. He was fighting with the McLarens. He was fighting with an Aston Martin. And then he just fell out of the points.
I think, you know, Piastri was unlucky. Norris, you could say he was unlucky, but, I mean, he got the penalty because he backed up the traffic so that McLaren could double stack.
Yeah.
So I kind of think that was a bit deserved.
Yeah.
Hulkenberg had a crappy day at the office. And I think Magnussen and De Vries had a crappy day at the office. Oh, obviously George
Yeah.
Russell had a horrendous day at the office.
Yeah, he did not have a good day.
He didn't know.
But, well, my key drivers, I put Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah,
Yep, he had a good
Oh,
day.
yeah, he had a good day at the office.
I think the top 3 had a great day.
Also put Fernando Alonso. He was a key driver. Like, they had a ding-dong battle.
Yeah.
It was an on-track battle. It was a strategy battle. It wasn't just, you know, one scooted off. Yeah,
Well, the team was saying to Alonso as well that if he didn't have some sort of small issue that he was dealing with, that he might have been able to push. I'm not sure how close he would have gotten, but I mean, in the end, it was only, 5 seconds?
5 or 6 seconds. But
Compared to 20 odd seconds.
But,
yeah.
Safety
but
car might have helped that, but
yeah.
they were making out like it was a fuel issue, but it was a braking issue.
yeah,
They were asking him to lift and coast in the corners.
yeah.
You know, probably having a similar braking cooling issue than George Russell had as well. But hey, he got to the end and he held off Lewis Hamilton, so you couldn't expect much more from him.
No, not at all. But it just would have been interesting if they didn't have an issue, if this weekend his car would have challenged Verstappen at all.
Yeah.
That's what we want to see.
Well,
is someone start challenging Verstappen.
Max said that this track didn't suit the Red Bull at all. They couldn't get the tyres working. It's probably the one chance where someone could have brought the fight properly to Max, because he's won most of these races by 30, 40 seconds,
Yeah,
Yeah.
despite safety cars, and this did have a safety car.
This is the closest one we've had all year.
This is the closest. This is Max's least winning margin. all year.
Well, I think this track, yeah, it did highlight there was that it's Red Bull's not. It's not their strongest track. I think Perez is what really highlighted that this was not the Red Bull track.
I think Perez is highlighting himself at the moment as just not
Well, I think Perez
not the
got
best driver.
He's not on not only is he not on Max's level, like he's extremely average in these last few races.
Well,
Yeah.
I think he was unlucky in qualifying.
And that's what I find with Perez is that he's not consistently good enough in a sense. Like he has these amazing races like Sakir when he come from 20th to first, right? He has that on his resume. But then he just has like really, really average weekends in top machinery that you're like, I don't understand how you're so far off it.
This is probably going to be a bit of a dated reference. He reminds me of an old driver from Renault named Jarno Trulli.
Yep.
Jarno Trulli was renowned for. He was very much like the New South Wales State of Origin team in the last game. Like he drives for 90% of the race and then just goes to sleep for 10 minutes of it.
Yeah.
For 10% of it. Much like the New South Wales team at the last State of Origin
like
game.
that as well.
Yeah.
Hulkenberg will put in a stonking 90%.
And then
as soon as he gets close to the podium finish,
he just
or
goes
first,
to
he
sleep
just
behind the wheel.
dies. Yeah.
Same as Magnussen, actually.
Yeah,
Magnussen
Magnussen's
does
like
the
that.
same thing.
Yeah. There's a few drivers I find that are a bit like that. Gasly's like that.
And I find it really funny, though, that Perez and Magnussen both started in F1 driving for McLaren.
Yes.
I'm not having a dig at McLaren. I'm just saying, like, they're both drivers that drove for McLaren, had like 1 or 2 seasons there, and then were promptly kicked out the door because they just weren't up to snuff.
Although Magnussen come out in his debut race and got a third, didn't he get a podium in Australia?
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, just shows like these guys have got this ability to put in these stonking races every now and then, but then they just don't have the consistency to like keep competing every race.
Well, Sergio Perez, did he win Jeddah and Baku? Did he do the street tracks again this year?
Yeah.
He did the street tracks last year. He won Monaco last year as well.
He did.
Yeah.
He didn't win Monaco this year.
No, he was
No.
off at
But
Monaco this year.
he's been off the pace since Monaco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of it is the background pressure of Helmut Marko.
100% I think it is.
That's got to be on your mind.
I think he's doing his own bottle job from the pressure, but
It's getting in his head.
yeah, it's definitely getting to him, and it's only going to get worse. And we've seen it coming into Monaco. He was in the World Championship battle.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. We all didn't think it would last, but he was in the conversation, and that's kind of what you want.
And he hasn't qualified well. Like your weekend starts at qualifying.
That's what I mean. He
That's
had a
right.
poor weekend.
He hasn't qualified well in 3 or 4 races now.
Yeah, he's
But,
been really bad.
I mean, to his defense with qualifying this weekend, like qualifying was throw everything in the air and see where it falls.
Qualifying should have been called off at the end of Q2. I stand by that. It should have been called off, and Albon should have had pole, and McLaren should have been in the top 4.
That would have been
And we
brilliant.
would have had an exciting race. It would have been great.
That would have been good for the 3 laps in front till Max just like wheeze past
Yeah.
us.
Just goes into Monaco mode. Now, we'll get to that in a sec. But my next key driver was, in fact, Lando Norris.
Yeah.
I think besides his little blunder behind the safety car, I think he actually drove a really good race.
He was aggressive too. Like that's the
Yeah.
most aggressive I've seen him in
Anyone.
Yeah.
probably this year.
That's one thing I kind of seen in this race as well is the cost cap. I feel like is affecting the way these drivers go about their racing. I feel like they're going so much safer because they don't want to.
They don't want to break the bank.
Because if they break the bank, their teams are stuffed, and then they're out of a seat.
I don't know, man. There are a few drivers out there that absolutely were not.
Oh, there was a couple, but there was still a
The
time where they
De
pulled away.
Vries crash was pretty.
De Vries was more dumb driving more than it was, like
yeah, but he
an
wasn't.
aggressive
He
move.
wasn't giving an inch, and Lando wasn't
but-
giving an inch.
De Vries's thing was he's driving to keep a seat.
Yeah,
He's got to do something.
Buckling under the pressure.
Yeah, but I mean, at least he was sitting there going, I've got to do something.
Yeah, it would take us both off the track. Yeah, that's not something. Just because we say we want you on the highlight reel for once doesn't mean for that.
I'd rather see him have a go though than not.
Look, at least he's having a crack, but
Yeah, he's putting up some kind of a fight rather than rolling
Giving
over
me
and going,
something to
oh,
watch."
rub my belly,
Yeah.
you know.
yeah, but I mean, he got egg on his face because he ruined 2 races.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, look, he didn't end their races; he just
I
ruined
mean, what was he really ruining though?
Yeah.
15th and 16th to 18th and 19th. Like,
Yeah, I guess.
you know.
It's still 0 points if you're outside the top 10. So
Yeah. So
True. And my final driver of the day was the guy who got driver of the day was Alexander Albon.
what a
He-
drive!
legendary drive.
Outdrove the car, and he put the other teams on notice. Like, he is a superstar.
He has done this a few times for Williams.
Yeah.
He's done this a few times. He's just done outstanding drives. And you can see the gap between him and whoever else is in the other Williams. Like, it's not a good car. And yet here he is putting it in at 7th. He's putting it on pole in Q2.
To be fair, the other
He's
Williams
making-
clonked out like 2 laps in the
Yeah,
row.
it
Oh, I
was-
know, but you talk about his whole Williams career. He did it last year with even when Latifi
Nicholas
was there.
Latifi. Yeah.
Remember, he did 50-odd... He did the whole race on hards in Melbourne to get a point when we had an even worse car than we... Like, he's just put in races in horrible cars. He's put in stonking performances. It's like, if Albon was in a Red Bull, he would have been challenging Max Verstappen this race. That's
Yeah.
how competitive he was today.
Oh, I mean, if you put him in an Aston Martin, you put him in a Mercedes, you put him in a Ferrari,
Yeah.
he will prove how good he is.
Yeah,
I
he's
think-
ready now. His first stint in the big teams, he was not ready. Now he's
No.
ready.
I think the best thing for him was getting out of the Red Bull system.
Yes.
I think the best thing for him was that year he took off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
yeah.
year after he
The mental
dropped out of the
refresher.
Red Bull, he
Yeah.
took a year off refreshing, and
Yeah.
he said he did just a lot of focus on just his driving. He did a lot of focus on all stuff, and he actually then started Yuki Tsunoda. He started teaching Yuki Tsunoda, like he started working with Yuki Tsunoda. That's when Yuki Tsunoda started getting better too.
Yeah.
Was once he was like learning and working with Alex Albon, and then Albon went into Williams and just started putting in these races that you go, shit, where was that at Red Bull? You know? He
Oh
just-
yeah. He now in that Williams is what George Russell was in that
yes,
Williams.
exactly. So he's put his hand up to be in the top 3. team.
Wouldn't that be ironic? George Russell and Alex Albon at Mercedes both coming through the Williams system.
I can see it happening.
It
once
could.
Hamilton goes.
It could happen.
Yeah, apparently
It-
good friends.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
they'd
Apparently they are like besties. Yeah.
be, and they'd be a formidable driver pairing.
They would.
They'd be a
You
good
know?
driver pairing. Yes.
Yeah.
They really would.
All right, now, so before, and I don't even have it on my run sheet, but JB mentioned something before, so I thought we'd just do a quick little statement on this. JB and I both endured watching Fast 9.
Oh yes.
Not even the new one, not even Fast X, the previous one.
Well, look, Fast 9 hasn't got me excited for Fast X. So.
Yeah, no, I'm going to wait until it comes out on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
What a boring,
it was
abysmal
just-
pile of garbage.
It wasn't funny. The one-liners weren't funny. The characters are just all over the shop. No one knows what they want to be or who they're meant to be. John Cena's a bad guy for 90% of it, and then face turns, like his wrestling career, just face turns after being a heel from the start. You know, and now he's going to be a good guy in number 10, I assume,
Yeah,
because family.
yeah.
And all those flashbacks to like 18-year-old Dom. And it's just like, oh, you killed my dad, but your dad was in debt. And then he has the flashbacks of like parts he wasn't there for.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do you know that wasn't? You weren't there for that.
Or
You weren't there for that at all. There's no way you know that. How are you having a flashback to that moment?
Well, the funniest thing is that they've just rewritten history to insert a brother that no one's mentioned until now.
Yeah. Yeah, this
So-
series
and-
has been going for over 2 decades.
And the here's the thing that just threw me completely off. How am I supposed to believe that John Cena is Vin Diesel's brother when they don't even look alike?
Not even close. I'd almost believe Jason Statham, maybe,
Yeah.
as his brother.
Yeah.
Didn't he have a brother in the first one that died?
No.
No, it wasn't a
No.
brother.
No, it was his
It
father.
was his dad.
In the first one?
Yes,
Yeah.
when he said his dad got crashed in the race and the tanks exploded, and
And
he
then-
thought I thought I could hear him screaming, but it was actually me.
Yeah.
And then that is referenced through the whole fucking number 9, as how that all went down.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, it was just
It was just another fucking padding.
and
40 minutes of fucking padding in a story that was already boring as shit.
It was the whole movie was formulaic. It was just the same
Run of the mill.
crap.
It was just run of the mill.
That's why, like, we sat there in the group chat and debated it. Like, Longhorn, you haven't seen past 5.
Thankfully.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
And-
5 was the last good one.
I made the conscious decision of that. I had to pull out.
And yet, I'll happily sit here and go, after 3, I just stop and then just put on Need for Speed. Because that Need for Speed movie was so much fucking better.
I know, but we're sat here in the trap of we've gone this far. We need to finish
But
it.
that's why
And
we're at 10.
and you know
You
what?
just need to stop.
And you know what? When it's done, I will never watch past Tokyo Drift ever again.
Yep.
Like I will. This is it.
You know it's
You know,
going to
It's like when I had to do the big Marvel marathon to catch up between Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. I had to do that big marathon of like Doctor Strange and Spider-Man No Way Home or whatever it was, and all those movies and Thor, one of the Thor movies in the middle. And then I haven't watched a Marvel movie since Endgame. I'm done. I'm not going back. I'm not watching any more Marvel movies. I'm done.
Yeah, I'm the same. Once the end game was done, I'm like, I'm out.
I haven't even
Yeah.
watched Venom 2. I haven't watched Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And bother. I didn't bother. It's like I'm done. And this is going to be it. Once Fast and Furious 13 drops, because it's going to be 13, because this is going to be a trilogy.
It's going to be 16 because they're just going to keep going. It's going to
Vin Diesel's going to have
trilogy
another
after
idea.
that. Yeah.
Hold on. What if my son has a brother that he doesn't know about? What if,
Ramley.
what if The Rock has a brother that he doesn't know about?
And it's Randy Orton.
And it's like it's fucking Batista or something. It's Roman Reigns. Actually, he was in.
It was in Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah, he was in Hobbs and Shaw. Roman
Yeah.
Reigns.
Well, I haven't watched that one.
So
You
isn't
missed- I
that
think
technically an extra Fast and Furious movie?
It's a
That's a
spin-off.
spin-off.
Yeah, but it's Fast and Furious, so
Yeah.
that means there's 11 out at the moment. So you've got another one to watch.
Yeah.
It's not part of the actual Fast
Don't
series.
don't
but
watch that one. It's pointless.
I knew that.
It's
hence why
pointless.
I've never ever watched it.
It's pointless, like every movie past Tokyo Drift, right?
You know what it is? It's like the Rambo movies after the 4th one. Like, we went and saw Last
Blood was great though.
It was crap.
What?
It was crap.
It was not.
It
Last Blood
was.
was good.
No, it was crap.
Last Blood should be the last movie, but he reckons he's doing one more.
No.
Another one.
Yeah, Stallone reckons he's doing one more Rambo.
I thought he stopped at Last Blood.
I thought he was going to too, but the
He
rumor
should
is
have stopped at the 4th one, because the 5th one was crap.
I liked Last Blood.
Yeah,
I liked that as a finishing point.
Yeah.
Once they got to his ranch, and then the big fight began in the trenches and everything, then it felt like a Rambo movie. Everything else leading up to that just felt like generic Stallone movie. But the ending after the girl
Niece.
dies.
Was it a niece or whatever? Not
his maid's daughter.
Yeah.
After
passed
she
away.
died,
Then it felt like a Rambo movie.
then it felt like a Rambo movie. But up until then, it just felt like generic bullshit movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Anyway.
So Fast 9, it's,
Terrible.
-5 stars.
Yeah, actually, probably the worst of the entire series.
Yeah.
And there's been some clangers. But I think number 9 takes the cake, yeah. I think, the world's longest runway, the submarine through the ice. Number 5 was good. Number 4, where, like, Letty's died, but she's not dead. But she doesn't remember anything because she's got amnesia.
Yeah, but then number 3, you had Han died, and now Han's back from the dead.
Yes.
And then in the next one, Gazelle comes back.
Yeah.
Like,
I liked it, the number 9 when the fucking CGI skyline pulls in the driveway. And it's supposed to be that's Prime.
no, it's a real skyline.
It's
It's not a
just
CGI.
it fucking
But
looks
that's
CGI.
the one thing I'll give the series. At least they said, because Paul Walker died, they didn't kill the character. They just went, oh, he's at home looking after the kids.
That's it.
But
What
Yeah.
a strange story, like a strange back thing to have.
I don't
in a
know
movie,
what-
Yeah, but
like,
it's-
oh,
I
he's
don't
just
know-
at home looking after the kids while we're saving the world.
He should be here, leading us like he was.
but apparently for the final
Could
movie,
really use an ex-former undercover cop right now
yeah.
who can drive like a
Who
motherfucker.
could also fly a plane,
Yeah.
But apparently in the final one, they've got Paul Walker's brother, and they're going to digitally put Paul Walker's face over
Didn't they
him.
do that already?
Yeah,
Okay.
but they're going to do that for the very end of the final one, so that it's final.
Okay.
Right, moving right along. So we got some news items. News items.
Why does that logo pop up?
I put the wrong logo in there.
I don't.
I've got a McLaren logo up, and I'm not talking about McLaren.
It's like, what did we do? I don't like when my team comes up in the news because I get mad. But my team's not in the news.
No, your team's not in the news. It was announced last week that James Key has signed and is joining Sauber
That's
as
a good
technical director.
Is that the Sauber that is going to become Audi?
Yes.
So he's going to be the head of the Audi thing when that starts.
Yes.
Nice. Along with Seidel.
Yes.
That's...
Well, here's my question for you, JB. But Longhorn, like, step in if you want to step in. Like, this isn't an exclusive question. It's not like Sale of the Century. My question to you is this: do you think that James Key got booted from McLaren because he didn't get along with Andrea Stella?
Yeah. Yeah, why else would he partner straight up with Andreas Seidel?
True.
I
Well,
mean, they just followed each other to
do you
the
think
project.
Seidel and Stella don't get along then?
Something happened.
Yeah.
Something happened for Seidel to jump ship that quickly. That abruptly, too. It was right before the season started. Yeah, I think something fell out. It wasn't just a monetary offer. Like, Seidel had time before the Audi project kicks. He's still got 3 years before the Audi project kicks in. I don't know what happened there. But obviously he went, and then McLaren asked James Key, and now Key's met up with Seidel.
But I mean,
Do I need a buzz in here to say anything? Like a buzzer?
No.
No, go for it.
No. Shoot from the hip, cowboy.
I agree. I definitely think there was something that's gone on. I think it might actually even have been that it might have come from higher up somewhere. I don't know. After the car didn't go the way they wanted in the design philosophy, do you feel like maybe it was a bit of a like we need to clean out and start again sort of thing?
I think Zach Brown was just under pressure, maybe.
That's what I mean. Like, do you think he was a bit like, I've got to change this up because this has gone horribly wrong,
Yeah.
and I need to get it right because otherwise it starts looking back on.
Yeah, well,
Zach Brown.
Seidel went, and then like a month later, Key went. So
And that's what I mean. Like, Seidel was already meant to go, so maybe he just went, look, maybe you just go.
No.
We'll
like,
bring Stella in and go a different way with Stella.
Stella, man, I would prefer Andreas Seidel any day of the week over Andreas Stella.
Sorry to interrupt you. So Seidel actually left the team the same day that Fred Vasseur was announced that he was leaving Sauber and going to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, maybe
James
Seidel
Key
just took an opportunity.
James Key got the boot the week of the Australian F1.
Yeah, because we earmarked the Red Bull Aero guy. One of the
No.
Who do we get?
You've got the Ferrari.
the Ferrari guy, and then we've got a Red Bull guy coming over too.
Yeah.
One of their tech guys is coming over.
Yeah, because you guys are going for a pyramid sort of deal in terms of your team structure.
Yeah, except we're not going for a fucking works engine. Go figure.
Well, we'll get to that soon too, because I want to bring that up a bit later. But I think that's actually a really good coup for Sauber. He starts at the end of the year with Sauber, so he will be designing
the Audi eventually. But I mean, next year's
next
the
year's Sauber,
phase out.
because next year they're not Alfa Romeo; they're going back to running as Sauber.
Yeah, they're just that's going to be a placeholder for a couple of years.
Yeah. But I
But
think
he can at least get started.
I think one thing that you're probably going to be a bit pissed about when I say this is that I think that James Key is going to be able to thrive at Sauber because of
It's a clean slate.
Because how good their wind tunnel is.
Yeah, ours is getting built. Ours is almost ready.
Yeah, that's right. But I think James Key was put at a disadvantage at McLaren because you didn't have the wind tunnel, because you've been using the Toyota wind tunnel.
Yes.
Which is so fucking out of date, it's not funny.
Yeah. Like Zach Brown's been saying that for months. It's just like, look.
Well, the Ferrari from 2014, with the Aardvark nose.
Yes.
They ran that wind tunnel.
The Toyota one.
Yeah.
In Cologne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look at how much of a shitbox that thing was.
Yeah, well, look, if McLaren are hedging all its fucking bets on the wind tunnel being the problem, then they better hope the wind tunnel's the problem.
Yeah, well.
I think it's just an excuse.
Look, the
It's something
McLaren's
to
starting to get better, though. Like,
Yeah, it is.
Oh, yeah.
like today was unlucky.
Yeah.
I've said that 4 fucking episodes in a row now. that I've had two McLarens start in the top 10 and both of them miss points.
We might have to do a shot every time he says the McLaren was unlucky. Oh, he said it again.
I'll be drunk before we even finish the potty.
Yeah. I'll be drunk before we start the
Taxi
potty.
home.
I'll be drunk before we start the potty. It's just like,
It's like doing a drinking game while watching the Smurfs. Every time they say the word Smurf, you got to have a shot. You'd be dead by the first commercial break from alcohol poisoning.
how long are these episodes? 22 minutes. Dead.
But so my next news item. So George Russell has signed a new, I think it's 2-year contract with Mercedes.
Yeah, good.
And apparently Lewis Hamilton is about ready to put pen to paper and sign for another 2 years with Mercedes.
Oh, good on him.
Right.
Hey, man. And he's driving well again, too,
Yeah.
Lewis. He's got a bit of a second win happening.
Yeah, well, they've given him a car that...
Doesn't break his back. Doesn't snap his spine. They changed their fucking car. They changed their fucking car. And now it's actually pretty good.
He took Christian Horner's advice. Change your fucking car.
Called you out on trying to survive in front of everybody, and you did it.
Yay! So, yeah, Lewis Hamilton is sticking around, but I think this is going to be his last contract.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
you would assume so.
But that'll put rest to the rumours of him joining Ferrari.
Yeah. Oh, well, that saves Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc, doesn't it?
Right, so that's the news items. Now, before we... Pardon me. So we sort of touched on it before, but the race... Hang on, I just got to have another drink.
Intermission.
Don't mind me, I'm actually fighting a chest infection. So,
I am really the only one here that's healthy for
yeah.
once.
Yeah, it's rare.
Yeah, it is rare.
Yeah. Normally it's you being crook. But anyway. So the race did a story a couple of days ago about the 2026 regs. Yeah, you've got the 10 teams. So you've got Mercedes as a works team, Red Bull as a works team, Ferrari works team,
Aston Martin.
Aston Martin will be a Honda works team, Audi will be the Audi works team, Alpine as the Renault works team.
Yeah.
So it leaves 4 teams on the grid.
To be bought out.
Well, Williams are running Mercedes at the moment. I reckon they're going to extend it. McLaren pretty much has said they're sticking with Mercedes power units.
Yeah, not a fan of that.
AlphaTauri is still going to be running the Red Bull powertrains power unit with Ford bits on it. And Haas is going to be sticking with Ferrari.
AlphaTauri and Haas are like acceptable because they're the B teams of the teams that.
Well, here's the big question that the race asked is, are McLaren the biggest losers?
Yes.
Them and Williams.
Yeah.
Aston Martin have shown that you can be competitive against the works team with a customer engine.
Yeah, but even then, they've still decided to go to their own.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Despite all the improvement they've made, they've still earmarked and gone, you know what the next step is our own engine.
Yeah.
yeah, look, the Audi deal fell through and the Porsche deal fell through because
They wanted to
they
take
wanted
over the
controlling stakes. They wanted controlling stakes, and McLaren didn't want to sell. And the Honda deal fell through because Zach Brown's got PTSD, basically.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I still
No,
maintain...
I don't think they are. I don't think they are. I'm going to stick to my guns on this. No.
No?
I think Aston Martin have shown that you can be a customer team with the Mercedes engine and compete with Mercedes and be as fast as Mercedes. I think McLaren will find a way to be as good as Aston Martin, even with sticking with Mercedes.
Well, I kind of agree with you there. I think sticking with Mercedes is a safe bet.
Yeah.
I think the team that should have rolled the dice, we've said this 1,000
Williams.
times, is Williams.
Yes.
They
I-
have to, yeah.
I don't think staying with Mercedes is the right option. And it's not because I think the Mercedes power unit is garbage or anything like that. I just think Williams have got to roll the dice.
They needed to create a bit of like their own identity again. Like,
Look, if
I
they-
think that's what they're scared about, because if Audi and Porsche wanted a controlling stake at McLaren, they're going to definitely want a controlling stake at Williams.
Well,
including maybe fucking the Williams name off.
Yeah, but Williams should have gone for
I know.
Honda. They should have gone for,
They should have.
someone else willing to come in and just be an engine supplier. That's what they need to be going for.
I think the race explained it with the deal between Honda and Aston Martin is that the way it was going to work if McLaren went back to Honda was that Honda was going to have to give McLaren power units and money. And the way it's working with Aston Martin is the opposite, where Honda's giving them power units and Aston Martin is giving them money.
How is that working, though? Because doesn't Red Bull technically have the IP to the Honda power unit at the moment?
Until 2026.
Okay, and then that deal expires.
Yeah.
And then what? Honda's just going to have to make another engine from scratch?
Yeah.
Or they're just going to use the same one that Red Bull
They'll
had?
probably just use the same one, but a couple of Honda-style tweaks.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because Red Bull's going to have to modify their engine to connect up Ford parts to it.
Yeah. Oh,
For-
yeah. They're going to have to refit that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot of a grey area in there.
Yes. Yeah.
But
Interesting, though.
I think that Williams, Honda has said they're only going to be supplying Aston Martin. They're not going to be supplying other teams. Same with Audi. Audi has said we're just a works team. We're not doing customer teams.
Yeah.
So I think if Williams is going to roll the dice, they should go back to Renault.
Yeah, I agree.
They've got to do something. They've just got to do something. But then you've got the possibility of Andretti coming in. Because apparently, even though they've got Cadillac branding all over it, they're going to be running a Renault power unit if they come in, which I think is bizarre.
I think that is too. But
Yeah, having Cadillac branding all over it, like, shouldn't GM be making a power unit? I mean, they've got plenty of time.
they also know how to make them.
Who's actually making the power unit
For
Cadillac?
for Andretti.
Yeah. Is Cadillac actually making the
No,
power unit?
no, they're going to run Renault.
They're running a Renault engine, but it's a Cadillac branded.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Cadillac can make engines. I just watched the 24-hour of Le Mans 2 weeks ago.
That's what
Yeah,
I mean.
but-
That's
well,
why that's
And it was
strange.
like the third fastest car in LMP1. It
Cadillac-
can make a hybrid engine.
Yeah, well, Cadillac is a part of GM, so they just modify the
Chevy engine.
the Chevy engine from IndyCar.
Yeah.
You know,
That's a really easy... I don't know why they're making that so difficult.
yeah.
I mean, it's slightly different to an IndyCar. But you made an Le Mans engine and you've made an IndyCar engine. Now fuse them. Put the hybrid unit from your Le Mans car on your IndyCar engine.
Yeah.
And that's... I mean, yeah, I say that like I'm an engineer.
Yeah, it's
Just
so
do
easy.
this with this.
Put it together.
Just put the square peg in the round hole and make it work.
Put lecky tape around it just to hold it in place.
Duct tape the fuck out of it.
Super glue so it doesn't slide around inside. She'll be right,
Just
mate.
duct tape that heat unit to that V6 turbo. And it'll work. Trust me. I've thought of this.
I'm an engineer. I know these things.
Better engineer than Tyrese. Going to fucking space.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, no, no.
Oh, no. We've done it again.
It triggered me. It
But-
triggered me.
Back to Williams. I think you're right. They just got to get out of the... I don't know if they will, though. They've just hired James Vowles.
Yeah.
He's come straight from Mercedes, heavily linked and tied there, knows all the Mercedes stuff in and out. It wouldn't surprise me if they actually dive deeper into... they start looking like the Mercedes. You know what I mean? Like they're just
Yeah.
going to copy everything from Mercedes.
Yeah.
Well, they can
So-
start by copying the floor so it doesn't look like a fucking boat underneath.
Yeah, I'll start with them actually doing some aero, that's for sure. But
All this went done on testing time. 0 error.
it's shocking. But
Put the ping pong table away.
I would have loved to have seen if they could have got a deal done with Porsche, where if they could have still been Williams Porsche.
A team like Williams, it makes sense to let someone have a controlling stake in that
Yeah,
team.
that's what we're
McLaren,
needing.
McLaren makes no sense for McLaren.
It
It
doesn't.
would have made sense in the pandemic when the automotive almost went bankrupt. I reckon if that deal came through 2 years ago, Zach Brown would have said yes.
But here's the thing, is that Like Audi, when they bought Sauber, they wanted a controlling stake. Porsche didn't want a controlling stake. They wanted 50-50.
That's
no,
what
they
Williams
wanted
needed.
they wanted a controlling stake at McLaren. That's why McLaren said no.
Because, yeah, apparently they wanted 50-50, but now they've gone, well, it's too late. We've missed the boat. If Porsche were to join as an engine supplier, it would be taking Audi's power unit that they're going to use, tweaking it a little bit and slapping a Porsche logo on it until they could develop their
That's
own
the
one.
problem, because it's a VW group, regardless if it's Audi or Porsche.
Yeah, that's it.
You know what
They're
I
from
mean?
the same group.
Williams
yeah.
needs to get BMW back, man.
They need to get someone. They need to join
Or
up with someone.
Toyota or someone.
Because at the moment they are just Mercedes C team. You know,
They are.
yeah.
that's what they
McLaren's
are.
the B team. Oh, well,
And then
Aston's the B team.
once they lose Aston Martin goes to Honda. It's up to Williams to become the Mercedes B team.
Yeah.
They won't, because the Mercedes B team then will be McLaren.
Yeah, but that because at the moment the Aston Martin is doing a similar deal to the Haas, where the entire suspension.
Yeah.
and
Oh, well,
stuff-
McLaren are making their own gearbox and their own parts. Like McLaren are,
McLaren makes everything but the engine, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Why
make everything but-
why don't they make their own engines?
That's a very good point.
Well,
They make engine. They make hybrid. They made a hybrid V6 engine for the Atura,
That's
their
what
road car.
I've never understood with McLaren. Like, they've been around long enough. I thought they would have been.
They
able
also
to by
made the
now work
V8
out
hybrid engine for the P1. Like, they can make hybrid engines.
What's holding them back? Yeah, they make supercar. Like, what's holding them back from making their own with their own team where they make?
Well, I mean,
everything?
look
don't
at Aston Martin. Until Larry Stroll bought the company.
before it was Aston Martin.
Well, no. Like the car company. He bought the car company.
Oh, true, you did. Yes.
So James Bond drives a car that's owned by Larry Stroll.
Yes.
Which is the sad thing is when you watch like Casino Royale and he fires up the DB9 or the DBS and you hear that Aston Martin howl, you're like, why are you not making a V6 version of that and slapping that in your F1 car?
Yeah.
It must be harder to make a Formula One engine than we give
Well,
it credit for, because
when
McLaren have been making road car engines for years.
yeah, but
And
when
they just got no
But what I don't
desire.
get with McLaren is that they've also been around in Formula One for years. Surely by
But they've
now
never
they
they've
could've
never
figured-
made their own engines.
That's what I mean. But like, I can understand like Aston Martin coming in for the first time. Maybe the first go they'd need a supplier, but you'd think after that tenure they might be able to make their own.
but
Why hasn't McLaren in all the years they've been in Formula One? Why have they never been like, we can make our own? Like,
That's a I'd love to ask Zach Brown
they would
that.
surely know how. Like, they know how to make an engine.
Of course they
for-
do. They make hybrid engines
That's
for
what
their road cars.
That's what I mean. So it's like, but they also understand everything about Formula One because they've been in the sport for so
Yeah.
long.
I'd love to pitch that question to Zach Brown.
Yeah, I don't know
Well, I
if
mean,
I've ever
Is
heard
it
it been
possible?
answered.
Is it possible to make your own engines?
And if it is,
A McLaren
why-
hybrid engine in your Formula One car?
Well, just going back a sec there, when Larry Stroll bought Aston Martin, the entire like company, he shut down the engine manufacturing part of the company, and now all Aston Martin road cars are running Mercedes power units
Yeah, he cut a deal with Mercedes.
with Toto.
Yeah.
Yeah, which like that's bizarre.
Yeah, which is weird.
But
I think that was got to do with the Formula One aspect. The only reason he bought Aston Martin was for the F1 team aspect of it.
Then again, don't forget
He
the
didn't buy it
McLaren.
because he loves Aston Martins. He bought it so he could buy a team for his bloody son to drive around in on the weekend. So we have to bloody watch it.
well, no,
And the
he-
only way he could do that and have was he bought Aston Martin and then merged that into the F1 team. Like he just
Yeah, because he bought Force India, renamed it Racing Point. Then 2 years later, he bought Aston Martin, the car company, Aston Martin Lagonda, and used that branding on the F1 car. But he owned the car company as well. I think it was him and a consortium. Because I think,
he sits on the board of Aston Martin for sure.
oh yeah, yeah. But I think it was the race in that same video was going through like the history of McLaren engine suppliers. Like they had, when they first started, they were using Repco engines
Yep.
that were supplied by Jack Brabham.
Yep, the Brabham.
Then they were running the Ford,
Yeah, the
the
Corsa.
Corsair. In the 80s, they were running Tag Heuer engines, which were Porsche engines rebadged.
Yep, and then late
Honda?
80s was Honda, and then it was Mercedes.
No,
from
no,
that.
they went back to.
That was a Peugeot,
Yeah, they went to Peugeot.
and then it was. Did they go back to Ford for one more stint?
No, they went to Mercedes.
Yeah, and they were Mercedes until
2015.
that fateful fucking year, 2015.
Yeah, a year
Let's
of our
revive-
Lord,
let's re-
2015.
Let's revive the McLaren Honda fucking thing. Let's see how that goes.
But yeah, like in the 80s, they were winning with Porsche engines, even though they were rebadged as Tag Heuer.
That would have been an interesting reunion had Porsche come back.
Well, you know what would have been an interesting reunion is if they signed a full-blown deal with Ford. If they'd
Yeah.
gotten Ford, got the Cosas.
Could have got the Cosas back.
Or if they... what if McLaren had bought Ilmore?
Well,
Because the Mercedes engine that... oh, no, it wasn't the F1 engine, the Mercedes F1 engine. It was the IndyCar. IndyCar in the 90s, Mercedes power unit was actually made by Ilmore.
yeah.
Because they did Indianapolis and then they got banned because it was just too powerful.
Yeah, it was too fast.
It was just too potent.
Is the rumor still going around that Lamborghini wants to be an engine supplier? I heard there was.
There was a rumour.
Because, Lamborghini was almost an engine supplier for McLaren in the 90s.
Yeah.
Ayrton
But then
Senna-
Ayrton Senna tested it and it was a dog box.
Ayrton Senna tested it and he didn't like it.
Yeah.
And then he went to Williams anyway.
Yeah. But, I mean, look at some of the teams in the 90s, though. Like, there was one team that was running Subaru.
Yeah, yeah.
There was a couple of teams running Yamaha.
Yeah, there was some crazy engine suppliers.
Or
But that was back in the day where you just dialed it up to 100 and just sent it until it blew
Because you
up.
had 90 fucking
Well,
engines.
yeah.
Aidan Millward, he did a video that I watched on the weekend where it was about the slowest ever qualifying lap around Imola. It was a team in the early 90s called Life. And that this was when you had more than 30 cars trying to get on the grid.
Yeah, which
So you
people
had-
got eliminated.
So you had
before that.
pre-qualifying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pre-qualifying.
And Life set a lap time around Imola of 7 minutes 42
Wow.
because he got onto the first quarter and the suspension snapped. and then one of the belts on the engine popped.
So he's just like rolling around.
He couldn't get out of... He couldn't go any faster than third gear.
Jesus.
Oh, it's
He got around though.
Yeah, he got back.
He finished the lap. Good
Went
to his
across the
credit.
line. Yeah.
To his credit, he's now lapped
you know,
Imola
you know
in the
that-
same time that you have to lap the Nordschleifer in Germany. But hey,
I reckon the guy would have gotten out of the car. He would have been like that meme of the like the podium where they got the two serious people and the third place one who's like spraying the champagne or that's what the driver would have been like. Just
Kissing the
jumped out of the
podium.
car.
I got
Yeah.
it back.
Kissing
I
the
got it
podium
back.
girls. Yeah, yeah.
Kissing the girl, biting the metal, all that stuff.
Giving fingers to everyone.
Just
And there's-
Ric Flairing it the whole way.
There's 33 people just down the podium looking at him.
Listening to Going the Distance by Cake.
It's a banger of a song.
Oh, it is. It is. But, right, my next news item, or discussion point, I got the idea from Aidan Millward again. Are there too many street circuits in F1 now?
There are too many American circuits in F1 now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
There are too many American circuits. Please eliminate 3.
with the
Well-
commercialization of the sport and the growingness of the sport, it's definitely
Yes.
lost that. We're at racing track feels. It's more.
There are
we're
so-
at
and there are
whoever
so
pays
many-
us the most money to race there.
And it doesn't have to be because there are so many racing tracks
With
The
governments
Formula-
willing to pay money
that
for you to
Formula
come.
One used to go to.
Yeah.
That you can still go to because they're still there.
Yep.
Hockenheim, Istanbul, Sepang, Kyalami wants back in.
Germany,
Mugello. Yeah.
a race in Germany.
Hockenheim and the Nürburgring.
Yeah.
the actual the GP track, the Nordschleife. Although Sebastian Vettel and Daniel Ricciardo are lapping the old Red Bull RB7 around the Nordschleife soon, which
Nice.
hopefully they don't die. Don't do a Niki Lauda reenactment. But there are so many actual proper, still there to this day, racetracks that Formula One either used to race on or could still race on now. You don't need all these street tracks. You just don't.
Well, look at all the street tracks that are on the calendar. So you got Jeddah,
Jeddah's great, though.
Albert Park.
Yeah.
Albert Park's it's
Yeah.
almost a legacy track.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's the
You
only
know,
it's the
so-
only track in Australia that's going to be able to. And don't say Bathurst, people. We've been through
Yeah.
this. Bathurst is not FIA
No,
approved in any
Adelaide.
stretch.
Adelaide.
Adelaide,
Hey, it used to hold the F1.
yeah, I know, but I think
Clipsal? Clipsal?
yeah, but
Townsville. Go to Townsville so you can get your car nicked. Driven into a cop shop.
Max Verstappen didn't win the Grand Prix because his car's nicked.
So
He can't
50
line up on the grid today
No,
because his
so-
car was nicked over
Yeah.
there.
The Red Bull's in the Townsville River near the Woolworths.
Some 15-year-old piece of shit fucking nicked it.
It's gone.
He took it joyriding to the local shopping centre and then crashed it into the cop shop after he had a few drinks.
Got some durries and some alcohol, and now it's in the river.
He's now out on bail.
Yeah, he's out on bail because the Queensland government don't do fuck all.
Yeah. And then he walks out of the courtroom and just starts reenacting that meme of the
Giving
spray
the finger to
champagne,
everyone.
finger, chewing on the metal, kissing the girls, making them cry like he's Ric Flair. Yeah.
Oh.
He said outside the courtroom, the car handled slightly better than a shopping trolley that I nicked.
It was better than that Commodore I stole last week. Didn't even have to use a key.
I
The stereo was a bit shit
Yeah,
though.
the stereo was a bit shit. It sounded like a Dyson vacuum
Oh, I
cleaner.
couldn't play my Keith Urban,
I couldn't drop any Cardi B while I was doing fat laps at the car park.
Megan the Stallion.
Oh, God. But no, back to the point. Yeah, so many proper racetracks
Well,
out
yeah,
there
well,
that just
um,
don't go to.
So you got Jeddah, Albert Park,
Yes.
Baku,
Yep.
Monaco,
Yep.
Miami,
Yep.
Vegas,
Vegas, Singapore.
Singapore.
We missing one?
Abu Dhabi?
No.
No.
Is that
LaSalle's
a track?
Yeah,
it's
that's a track. LaSalle's a track.
Uh,
I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
it. I can't think of any
and
more street
before that, we had Valencia.
tracks. That was a good track, though. I liked
You're
Valencia.
the only person who thinks it's a good track.
I think it was a great track. I used to race out in the game all the time. It's great.
You had Adelaide before that.
Yeah.
But now they're talking about another UK race.
Are they still trying to do the London street
Yeah.
track? Oh, my God.
Like, give it a rest.
Let it go. There are so many proper tracks out there.
Yeah,
You just don't go
look,
to.
you got-
How many times have we heard the drivers say the track limit should be defined by grass and gravel?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's already too many street tracks. We should already be fucking off Vegas and Miami.
100% they should be gone.
Yeah.
I would almost look to move on Baku. I think the only
I'd
ones...
almost look to move on Baku too,
Yeah,
actually.
the only ones I think deserve to stay because they're legacy tracks would be Albert Park and Monaco.
And Singapore.
And Singapore.
Yeah, sorry, and Singapore. They're the only three that I would be like they can stay. Three's enough, to be honest. I
Yeah.
think
3 is enough.
three's plenty.
Well,
And Jeddah. I'd keep
Aiden-
Jeddah.
Actually, I do like Jeddah. Yeah,
Aidan Millward put up a really interesting point, which is the reason why they keep doing these street circuits is because it's easier for the FIA to sell tickets to these.
Because they're in cities.
yeah, because they're
They're literally in
Yeah.
the city.
rather than
Yeah.
having to drive out to wherever it is.
Yeah, because like Spa and Monza are like in the middle of nowhere.
But
You look at the aerial shots of Spa, it's literally in the middle of the Ardennes forest.
But-
it's like forest, track.
my counter to that is that by doing it that way, you're pretty much selling a Hulk Hogan match. I mean, sure, you can sit there and say, brother, and do all the pose downs and everything, but then you watch the actual match, and it's just a steaming turd.
Oh, this is what Vegas is going to be.
Yeah.
You know what Formula One is?
Vegas is going to look great, and it's going to look brilliant, and the spectacle's going to be great, and there's going to be people there.
Do you know what Vegas is?
What's
It's
Vegas?
Conor McGregor fighting Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what it is. On paper, everyone's like, "Oh my god, it's got to be," but we all know the details of that is
Yeah.
fucking going to be pathetic.
Yeah.
And that's what it was.
And-
And it's just a money grab.
Block and
Everyone
jab.
puts all their money in because I've got to see it. I've got to see it. And we're all going to do it. We're all going to be like, well, I've got to
Oh,
see
we all
what it
did
looks
it.
like
Well,
in Vegas.
other-
And then we're going to watch a boring ass race and get to the end and go, oh,
The only
I paid
thing
for
that's
that.
going to be memorable about the Vegas race is that only celebrities are going to be able to afford to go.
$3,000
that's what
a ticket.
F1's coming in. Like, Miami's like that.
Yeah.
It's a shit race, and it's all for just people with money. And it's just creating this divide of, like, all these people that are going in there. I don't even think they're, like, actual F1 fans. They're just
not.
there because they got
Oh.
money and it's something to do and it's clout. And, go Mercedes. I've always gone for Mercedes and
Yeah,
Lewis
I'm-
Hamilton. Like,
I'm here
like,
'cause
do you
I'm
know
a-
who Yuki Tsunoda is? Can you tell me who that is?
Yeah.
I
Nope.
don't know. You know,
Yeah.
like,
Sorry, I've just got to spin off for a second. Last race was Spain, and we briefly mentioned that Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones were on the grid.
yeah.
And I hadn't seen the full clip. But when Martin Brundle was doing his grid walk, and he went up to Michael Douglas, and he's, "Hi, Michael, I'm Martin from Sky F1." And Michael Douglas, and I will give him all the credit for the world for this, Michael Douglas turned around and said, "I'm not going to plug a movie, but I want to sit here and say we watch the F1. We're a big fan of what you do. You're one of the best colour commentators in motorsport going, and we really appreciate what you do."
Yeah, that was cool.
And then Catherine Zeta-Jones comes in and she says, "I've been watching you since like Michael Schumacher was driving. You are part of my childhood of watching F1 with my dad. Thank you for all that." And you could tell Martin was like absolutely chuffed
Yeah.
that these people knew who he was.
Well, all he's ever had to deal with on these grid walks is these bloody celebrities that no one cares about, that doesn't care about F1, that's just hanging around to take an Instagram
Yeah,
photo.
yeah,
He
they're-
walks up to and says, "Hi, I'm Martin. I've got to do this job," and they blow him off like they own the
or they
place.
or they
Like,
get their bodyguards in the way.
yeah, like
know?
they're in a private booth in like no, you're in a track.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
this is his world. You're in his world. You're in Martin's
and they're
world.
all like, "Oh, we're here with because Lewis Hamilton."
Invited us, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, well, fuck off. You're not wanted.
I'm glad no one remembered my bet on my left testicle that the Williams sisters would be in Canada. Because I don't think they were. I don't think they were. They certainly
I really don't want your left nut.
and they certainly weren't waving the checkered flag.
Thank God.
But then again, neither was the Apple CEO. The saddest. I don't want to be outside. Fucking, I don't want. Not only do I not want to be here, I don't want to be
yeah,
outside.
but we fucked up and
Yeah,
thought he was
you remember-
related to the Haskell.
Yeah.
Remember? We spread that false news.
we
we
fucked up
dropped-
so bad.
We dropped that fake news bomb so good.
Oh, we turned into a Watch Mojo video.
I
We were
just remember
so
sitting
fucking
there and be
wrong.
like, these people are so cruel giving him shit. His son just died. Like,
Condolences for
No.
your son that you're not related to. passing away.
Oh,
now,
we-
now you are just a sad piece of shit. We have no sympathy for you.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, there's so many circuits that
Are
want
still
to be on
there.
that want to be on the grid. Like
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Hockenheim wants to be back.
Kyle Army keeps saying, "Can we go? Can we
Kyle
go?"
Lamy. I
I
think,
don't think Sepang said anything, but they need to come back.
yeah. And yet here we are with more bullshit
Miami,
street
Vegas.
circuit tracks.
whoever's got money, it's a money grab. It's all
Yeah.
it is. It's who can
Oh.
put up the most money and where can we drain
That's
the
sort of-
most money out of. And
Yeah.
Miami would have put up money to come to our city. They would have taken it. The American market's big. And look how much they're charging to go to it.
Yeah.
I mean, we went over the menu and you pay $500 for watermelon. Like,
In Miami, yeah.
you know,
God knows
like,
what Vegas is going
they
to be
don't
like.
care about the experience of that race. Like, they're not caring about the product. They're caring about how much can money give me money. That's what they care about.
Yeah.
That's all that is.
it's
Miami.
the pre-sale.
Yeah.
It's like pre-ordering a game at EB Games.
Whereas if you go to all these tracks with history or that are there, like you also get the culture of that place and that track that
You
come
watch
to
that
it.
race and then you remember previous races. Like,
Yeah,
man,
and people who were there years ago bring their
Yeah,
the new-
it's like,
their
hey.
kids
Well,
now, or I was here as a kid. I remember watching,
I
so
think-
and so. Now I'm back here. Like,
I
Yeah.
think that Liberty Media has forgotten that this is a sport. It's not here for all the celebrities and shit. It's for the 20 or so drivers that get in those cars and drive around and around and around for X amount of laps.
what it's also becoming, unfortunately, is like a rich gentleman's club instead of like a sport that you would take your kid to
Yeah,
watch
but-
and grow up and idolize these drivers. It's starting to become the who's and the like. It's just starting to become this rich, like.
Well, it used to be like that when Bernie Eccleston had it.
it was becoming that. Now Liberty Media is going the same direction.
That's what I mean. It's slowly heading in that direction, getting worse and worse. Compared to the days where, you look at some of the drivers on the grid now, and they all got photos from being at the track when they were younger and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of these tracks, like Miami and stuff, you don't see many kids there.
No.
Who's paying $3,000 a ticket for their kid? You know what I mean? Like,
I'm not buying my kid $500 watermelons.
yeah, it's all rich people that probably don't have kids. That's why they're probably rich. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And they're all there because, it's just, I don't know. It definitely puts a blimp on the sport for me.
But you see them at Miami, but you still see kids at Silverstone,
That's what I'm
and
saying. Those tracks
Zandvoort
have still
and
got
Spain.
that to it.
Spain. Yeah, like the history tracks are where the real fans still go.
Yes, that's what I mean. That's what I want to see is
Not
tracks
the-
where the real fans go.
The real fans will still go to Spa in the rain. They'll all be at Monza.
Austin. They'll go to Texas.
They'll be in Singapore. There's a lot of Aussies that go over to Singapore for that,
Yeah.
but they won't be in Vegas.
No.
They won't. They probably won't even be at Abu Dhabi.
Vegas, Miami won't be there.
No.
And I guess that's what you're like, as you're saying, Phil. They're saying that these cities they can obviously sell more tickets. That's because they're also selling not to the fan that would go that could afford it, but they're just selling to the people with money in the area in the city.
Yeah.
Whereas when
You
you,
don't
go
have
to
to travel
like these
anywhere.
tracks and stuff, the fans go that are willing to travel that will pay to go. The person who doesn't care won't go to that.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of like
You won't see any. You won't see any celebrities at Monza.
Yeah, but that doesn't
Or
create a
Belgium.
good product in a sense. Like, that just means, great, you sold more tickets at this one city. But if you do that too much and the product deteriorates, we talked about this,
Yeah.
was it last episode or the episode before? Like,
Yeah.
my big worry is if you saturate what the product is with too much of this other shit, you will eventually lose the people that keep it together, the real fans.
The real
Because-
fans that go to the real track.
Yeah,
for me, it's kind of like if you live in Brisbane and say, I don't know, Metallica comes to Brisbane, you buy a ticket. It's just like going down the road and going to a gig. Whereas if you live here and Metallica's going to Brisbane, yeah, you got to book your flights and everything. But it feels like it's adventure.
It is an adventure.
It's an adventure.
it's a
you
proper
know?
trip. Yeah.
That's what Knotfest was.
Yeah.
That was a commitment. We committed months in advance. We booked our flights. We booked our accommodation. That was months in advance. We booked holidays off from work. That's a real F1 fan.
Yes.
And it's just like someone who lives in Brisbane that just, I mean, now we're downplaying Knotfest, but Knotfest was awesome. But compared to someone who lives in Brisbane who just bought a ticket because they live in Bowen Hills
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they just walk to the showgrounds.
Yeah, it's
'Cause
just
it's easy for
another
them.
gig.
It's just
It's
another
day at the office. But
Yeah.
for us, it's an adventure.
It was an
It's-
adventure.
And that's what those tracks are. Those tracks are an adventure for those people that are real fans.
You're taking the trains, you're taking the buses,
Yep.
you're going out in
Committing
the,
to
in
the
the pouring
weekend.
rain,
Yeah, you know,
in the
committing
middle
to
of the Ardennes
weekends.
forest to sit at Eau Rouge,
Yeah.
and that's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
And you're a real F1 fan.
Yep.
You're not showing up on the grid because you've got money to cars you don't care about, drivers you don't care about, races you've never watched, so I can get a selfie in front of Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes.
There's 2 races on the calendar where the mentality that I was just explaining about, us getting into a plane and, it's an adventure. There's 2 tracks where even the hometown people exemplify that. The Dutch F1,
Zandvoort. Yep.
and Monza.
Yeah, Zandvoort and Monza are just nuts.
Even Imola
And Silverstone.
and Silverstone,
You
yeah.
can stay Silverstone.
But particularly Monza.
Oh,
Like
the
that
Tifosi, man.
Yeah. And then
And the Dutch, man.
and the
Dutch
Orange Army.
the Dutch on the hill at Zandvoort on the sand dunes.
Yeah.
Just huge.
And that's the type of passionate fan you want.
That's the fan,
and that's
exactly.
not the fan you're going to get at
You
Miami.
get none of that in the American races.
Yeah, you're not
None
going to
of that.
see a grandstand full of people in Vegas lighting orange flares.
No.
Or every MotoGP race when Valentino Rossi was racing, and there were entire grandstands of yellow flares.
Yeah.
The riders couldn't see because every time Valentino Rossi had start a race, it was just yellow smoke everywhere. You don't get that at Vegas. You don't get that at Miami. But you're right. If these are the markets we're going to keep appealing to,
Yes.
then the hardcore fans aren't going
And
to
slowly start taking out in the taking out
take
the
away
others.
the history of
Yeah.
the sport. Well, these tracks that we don't care about that are dog shit.
Yeah.
Ones that's down the strip. It's literally one's in the car park of Hard Rock Stadium and the other one's on the strip in Vegas. And that's all the history you've got.
Yeah,
Because Las Vegas is there. The strip is the history that you're trying to promote. And the Miami Dolphins Stadium is the other part.
and yet they've got... oh, Jesus.
But you've got Monza that was there in 1950, Silverstone that was there in 1950, Spa that's been on and off since the 60s,
But I mean, you've even
Zandvoort that you bought back,
you've got American tracks that actually have
Watkins Glen.
Watkins Glen, Laguna Seca,
Yes.
Road America.
Yes.
Look, even Coda's starting to build it. Like, I get that.
Code is the most racetrack
Exactly,
American
and
track.
it's starting to build a theme as well. You know, it's like
Yeah.
in a part of Austin, Texas. That's where Joe Rogan lived. Like, it's becoming a very popular, and it's got to build its own culture. Like,
Yeah,
you can
well,
see that happening there. It's not just a money grab. For,
Yeah.
you know, that's
that
actually
track
kind of,
built itself organically.
Yeah.
It's not using the spectacle of, oh, it's Miami or, oh, it's the Vegas Strip at night.
Exactly.
We're not doing the whole, this is like a Fast and Furious movie, drag racing down the Las Vegas Strip in the middle of the fucking night.
And it will build its own identity as it goes, like that. And
Yeah.
so, you know, I'm not against new tracks coming in or anything like that. I'm just against these money grabs that are all just about the location. They're not. Vegas is not going to be around in 10 years.
No, I fucking
Either is
hope
Miami.
not. I fucking hope
You know
not.
what I mean? Like but it's got to move to another money grab spot. You know what I mean? That's what it's going to keep doing, I imagine. Which is
It's
going to
just-
be the frustrating thing.
It's just going to be a shame that
And
it's
then we're
going to be...
sitting here watching F1 TV, watching like Fuji, and we're going back and we're watching races from Istanbul Park, and we're going back and watching races from Sepang because that's what Formula One is now. Like the history of it is being taken away
Yeah.
because there are parts of the world that are willing to pay a little bit more money.
It's
Yes,
being
exactly.
supplanted. The racing spectacle is being supplanted by the celebrity spectacle.
Yeah,
That's
and
really
the
what
money
it
is
is.
It's okay to have that, but once it tips,
Yeah.
Yes,
if it reaches
exactly.
if it
That's
reaches
what
a tipping point where it's more about the celeb and the spectacle than the historic tracks, then kill
product.
kill the sport.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Forget it.
It dies for a lot of people.
It's like the UFC right now. If you care more about champs and
Badass
Tough.
motherfucker belts, cringe belts.
BMF fucking cringe
Yeah.
belts and fucking.
I can't watch UFC anymore. I can't. I'll
Oh,
be
yeah,
honest.
it's
I don't-
really hard to watch the
I mean,
UFC. At the
to be
moment.
honest, I don't have the time, but it doesn't interest me anymore. It's lost because of what you've just said. It lost its appeal to me. It's just become too much of a. Now you just pick guys because of whatever reason to fight. There's no. It used to be like you earned your shot. You know, the best guys fight the best, or you work your way. Now it's just like, oh, he said
Dana
something
White,
funny,
you-
so
and you
someone
can-
likes him. So let's let him now fight
exactly,
the top guy,
and
you
you
know?
can see the hand-picked guys that Dana White have got.
Yeah.
He tried so hard to push Pimblett, and
Yep.
he fucking lost his last fight, but the judges gave it to him.
And that's what's starting to happen as well, is
Yeah.
that things are starting to be like, that's not making sense. Like, people are winning when they shouldn't. And it's like, is the UFC backing these characters over their actual fighting? Is that what they're
Yes.
trying to do? Yeah.
Yes.
And that's what's happening. And
Yes.
it's like, it takes away from what we watched it for.
Which
Like,
is funny because the parent company of UFC, Endeavor, just bought WWE.
So now there's going to be even more of a fucking entertainment angle
Yeah.
crossover.
yeah. At least with the WWE, it is entertainment first, if that makes sense.
That's always
You
it's
know
always
that.
been what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know that.
it
Like,
doesn't pull any punches, and hey, it's just a story.
yeah, you're not like,
it's-
oh, what? You know, like, it's, yeah.
I mean, the UFC is still going to have Dana White as its president, and WWE is still going to have Vince McMahon as the CEO, and Triple H is still going to be the head of creative. But now you're going to start seeing legitimate crossover of, like, at WWE events, you're going to see more UFC guys
Yeah.
showing up, and UFC having more WWE guys in the crowd, or
And you,
Yeah.
and you sort of wonder what that crossover point is going to be.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
get you.
Like, imagine now we're going to have, you know how the UFC fighters do those, like, pre-intro fucking... And it's
Yeah,
just,
walks.
and it's really bland and shit. It's just like, I trained really hard and I'm going to punch him in the face for 5 rounds until he gives up. Now it's going to be like rock promos from the 98. It's going to be like, that jabroni don't know what he's stepping into. I'm going to whoop his ass.
well, they're walking
I'm
around
gonna
going, well, let me tell you something, brother.
Let me tell you something, brother.
Let me tell you something, me, Gene.
Oh, man.
Oh,
I
they're
really
gonna-
hope
King of
not.
that, isn't
They're
it?
going to be
It is.
sending UFC fighters to the WWE Performance Center
Yeah,
to learn
to
how
do
to cut a promo.
Yeah, to do promo
How long
training.
until that starts happening in Formula One? Like the drivers are going to start calling each other out after the end or something, just to create, like.
Oh.
Don't say that. It's already bad enough. It's actually not bad enough because they're all friends.
Yeah,
It's actually like, I think the only two people that got genuine heat still is probably Max and Lewis.
yeah, that's
but-
because they're the best of the
but-
best. Yeah.
Everyone else are like mates, like George Russell and Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz. They all go golfing together.
Yeah,
You know, I think, George Russell and, Russell and,
Albon?
well, like, yeah,
yeah,
they're
Russell
like
and
best
Albon are good
mates.
friends. Yeah,
Like best mates. Like, there's always clips of like Lando and Carlos still hang out.
Yeah.
Lando and Carlos still hang out. They go golfing, and Carlos is like the best golfer on the grid.
I think the only one who doesn't have friends is Esteban Ocon.
And Max.
Yeah, but Max likes not having friends.
Max does like
Max
all
is
friends.
like, I don't have friends because I'm the winner.
I can
Esteban
buy
Ocon's
friends.
Just like, I don't have friends because I'm a shit bloke. Like,
Yeah.
You're a bit of a wanker.
yeah.
It's all right.
But, right, so, moving along.
Yeah.
A good little
So
run.
now we get to the drivers' standings. So after the Canadian F1, Max Verstappen is leading the championship on 195 points. Second place is Sergio Perez with 126 points. Third place is Fernando Alonso with 117 points. He's closing up on Perez.
He is.
Fourth place is Lewis Hamilton on 102 points. Fifth place is Carlos Sainz with 68 points. Sixth place is George Russell with 65 points. Seventh place is Charles Leclerc on 54 points. Eighth place is Lance Stroll with 37 points. Ninth place is Esteban Ocon with 29 points. Jesus, I was trying to get through it. And in 10th place is Pierre Gasly with 15 points. And the team standings, as I just have a quick... Hold on. All right. Team standings. Red Bull Racing is leading the constructors with 321 points. Mercedes is on second with 167 points. Aston Martin is closing up with they're in third place with 154 points. Ferrari got a nice little points total, which has actually sort of brought them into that fight as well. They're on fourth with 122 points. Alpine is fifth with 44 points and nearly gave them 100 extra points there. McLaren is sixth with 17. Alfa Romeo is seventh with 9. Haas is eighth with 8. Williams is ninth with 7.
Moving
They're
up in the world.
They're in the fight with Alfa Romeo and Haas.
Oh.
They could bump all the way up to being right behind McLaren.
Wow.
And AlphaTauri is coming dead last with 2 points.
The shitbox car finally caught up with them.
Yeah. Like, on,
That's a huge result from Alex Albon.
if Alex
That's
Albon doesn't have a girlfriend, the Williams team need to buy him like a Hong Kong mattress for the night.
Pretty much.
Get him a wristy.
Something.
Something. He got you off the bottom of the floor, mate.
Yeah.
All right, then we got the social media stuff. So, you can watch this video on the Vindicator 18 channel. That's the F1 chat. You can also watch it on YouTube on the F1 chat -1.
Don't forget the one.
Don't forget the Juan.
Our Mexican viewers.
Yes.
Don't forget the one.
Same with our Twitter, which is the F1 chat 1.
Don't forget the one. Don't forget the one, although I haven't updated Twitter in like a week.
You can interact with us on Facebook on the F1 chat. This video will go up on Rumble.
Will?
on the F1 chat.
Yep.
Rumble,
And we are
rumble.
on the Spotify with the F1 chat.
Hoorah.
That's us.
Now, last thing we got to do is a bit of a yearly tradition. So the date we record this, it's my brother's anniversary of his passing. It's his 8th anniversary. So
Time flies, man. I can't
it's
believe
always
been 8 years.
it's always a tradition that we have a shot of Jim Beam small batch. So we're just getting this ready. He, just for a bit of background info about my brother. He hated Formula One. He always liked MotoGP and World Superbikes. If it had 2 wheels and you could fall off it, he liked it.
It's a good man.
As a plane is taking off. I think that's his way of saying, please knock this shit off. All right. So, thanks, everyone. To Richard.
To Richard.
Richard.
Oh, yeah.
That's not bad.
Good drop.
Oh, Christ, that burns.
It's good in the midsection.
Ooh, feeling good now.
Oh, shit.
That'll put lead in your pencil.
And we're back in 2 weeks for the Austrian F1.
Oh, wow. We're back at the Red Bull Ring.
So we've got 2 quick tracks in a row. Yes.
That'll be another sprint race event, I assume.
Yes.
Yep, an F2.
Yes.
F2 will be
Yay,
there.
extra work for both of
F2
us.
report. Sprint race report.
Yep.
I should have my
F2 sprint race report.
I should have my voice back report.
One of us will be unwell, but hopefully it's not me or Phil.
And I won't be in the...
Straight. Yeah. Yeah, no, cool. All good, bro. I'll remember that.
I just meant it that there's always one of it that always unwell every podcast, and this week it's mine and Phil's turn. So
Awesome. So next podcast, I'm going to be fucking... I'm going to be clogged up. My eyes are going to be burning. And, yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Although, 2 weeks from now is the start of my 5-week-long service leave, so I'll also be in a good mood.
And 2 weeks' time, I won't be in a band anymore. Yes.
and in 2 weeks' time, I'll be here.
He'll still be you.
I'll be back.
No, in 2 weeks' time, he's still going to be sitting on Albon got points last race.
Hey, do you guys remember?
I tell you what, the Williams is quick in a straight line, and we're going to Austria.
I know.
Yes.
More points, man.
Come on, man. I feel he could get a point or 2 here. He can
McLaren's-
literally jump us in 2 weeks up
Yep.
to
The
7th
McLaren's
spot.
draggy is crap, so I'm not holding out too much hope.
But I think the other great thing that happened at this race was that Logan Sargent, his car was conked out and he was out.
Yeah, it meant I didn't have to watch him for the rest of the race. Which
No,
is
they could just focus
wonderful.
on Albon.
It was wonderful, yeah.
They should just sabotage his car
He should
every
just
race.
sit out. It would honestly be better just
Give
just
the,
sit this one
just
out.
give the seat
Logan?
to Mick.
Sogan Largent, you just sit this one out. How about,
Sogan
how's that?
Sogan Largent. Sogan Largent, you are done. You are so unmemorable, I can't even remember your name.
So good lunch. Oh, God, I got to remember that one. That's a great one. Right. Back in 2 weeks. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Until then, it is goodbye.